Hey, little buddy, want a ride?
Pikachu!
Yeah, whatever. I'll be right back.
Where can you catch all 150 Pokemon? On your Game Boy, that's where. Pokemon for Game Boy is here. With both packs, you can catch them all. Games and systems sold separately.
And that commercial there was the very first thing that I ever saw for Pokemon. And it was cute and pretty funny. I was interested in it. And I went and I bought Blue version. Well, obviously my mom bought it. I was very young. Probably less than 10. And, I bought it and I played it and I played it for a little bit, and then I wanted to get red version because it said you can trade between red and blue, and I didn't want to trade with someone else. So I had told my mom to go get the red version, and that's what I did. And I loved both of them, and I thought that they were great. And then a few years later, yellow version came out. And I had no idea what it was. I knew that it was Pikachu on the front, obviously. I got that as well. And I had all of them, and I completed the blue Pokedex. Well, anyhow, yellow was out, and I had put 200 to 300 hours into blue version. It was my favorite one. I remember that my teacher had this poster that had Lugia and Ho-Oh on it. No one knew their names back then, but it had them on the poster. And then I saw that every single day at school. And then I went to GameStop this one time, and they had a demo of, I guess it was, I don't know if it was a demo or if they had it early, but it was gold or silver. I don't know which. And I remember that it was at nighttime, and it was actually nighttime in the game, and I was blown away by that. I was like, whoa. And so, I got it, of course. But I used to be so into Pokemon back then. I had the official Pokemon handbook, both versions, and the second version was exactly the same thing, except it added Mew and Togepi, and that's it. That's the literal only difference between those two books. I also had several of the strategy guides, and I even had that little Pokedex. And I used to battle people in the schools, not at school, but I would battle them after school and stuff like that. And that was great, and that's what I really loved back then. I remember the first time that I saw the first episode of the anime. I don't know how I managed to catch it, but I caught the first episode from after I had played both red and blue. And I remember being very excited because the first episode starts off exactly the same as red. And I thought that was really, really cool. So I was super into Pokemon. And then it was years later and Pokemon Crystal came out. And I got it and I loved it as well. It added the little animations. And, that's really all it added, I'll be honest. It wasn't that great. In my eyes, though. Oh my god, it's amazing. And, then a few years later, I bought Ruby or Sapphire. I think I bought both. And I had two Game Boy Advances and the Game Boy Advance Link cable. And I was ready. I was like, okay, we're gonna transfer up these Pokemon from the past up to the present again. This is gonna be great. Each time I got to a new gym, I thought, okay, now? What about now? How about now? And it never happened. So then I look at the box of Sapphire or whatever, and the back of the box says something like, not compatible with red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, and crystal. So at this point, I was mad. My little kid self was just furious. And I went to GameStop and I made possibly the craziest decision ever, and I sold every single Pokemon game that I had. Red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, and sapphire. I don't remember what I even got for it. I mean, I'm sure I traded it in and got a game, and at this point, I quit. I was mad at Pokemon. I never wanted to see it again. Then, years went by. I don't know how many years, but years went by. And I was watching TV with my mom, and just randomly, seemingly anyways, a commercial came on. This commercial right here.
We will get our Pokemon back!
Who will save the Pokemon? Gotta save them. Gotta save them all. You can save the Pokemon. Gotta save them.
Some Pokemon have fallen under the spell of an evil organization, and you need to snag them back, make them good again, and train them for battle. Their newest adventure, now in 3D, Pokemon Colosseum, only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
And something about it just, it struck a chord with me. Yeah, it's cute and it's funny and all that, but I think it was just something about seeing Pokemon on a home console. It really, I really wanted to see what that was about. And so I rented it from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or something. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. And it says it can be, you can transfer your Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire. So I have to ask my mom, with my head tucked between my legs, hey Mom, can you pick up Pokemon Colosseum, Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire or something for me? And she gets me all three of them. I used to be very spoiled. It was pretty good. And I liked seeing all the Pokemon in full 3D. I thought it was a great game, honestly. I still like it now. And maybe a few months, maybe a year later, Gale of Darkness comes out. So if you got both games, you could catch all the Pokemon from Generation 2. So I considered Colosseum and XD basically like a gold and silver weird remake, kind of. Anyhow, I thought those were pretty cool. Then, one day, when I was at the mall or something, I saw a poster at GameStop for Fire Red and Leaf Green. And I had not been I had never seen an advertisement for it otherwise. And I was gonna lose my mind. Oh my God. I remembered in school, someone had the green version, and I had no idea what it was back then. And so I realized, hey, Fire Red and Leaf Green, these are obviously just remakes of Red and Green, the originals from Japanese. And then after that, of course, I bought them. I beat Fire Red. I beat Leaf Green. I beat them all the way. On Fire Red, I even got the team that I used to have way back on Blue, because I remembered. telling you, I was super into Blue back then. And Emerald came out, and it was great too. It actually, unlike Crystal, had quite a bit of difference. It had a lot of things going for it. I honestly loved that game. So, a few years later, some more, and Pokemon Diamond and Pearl come out. I got Diamond. I did not get Pearl. For whatever reason, this was the first time in my life that I had not wanted to get a specific Pokemon game. I don't know why, whatever. I didn't get Pearl. And I thought that Diamond, honestly, was pretty boring. I was underwhelmed by it. It seemed like a huge step down from Emerald. Even just from Ruby and Sapphire. I mean, the graphics were better. But everything was just so much slower. There's a saving a lot of data thing was annoying. There was other reasons that the surfing was slow. Lots of things were slow. And so when Platinum did come out, I didn't care. I didn't care and I didn't get it. I did end up getting it in the future, years later. However, when HeartGold and SoulSilver were announced, I picked those up, and I thought, hey, that was pretty cool. They're actually very solid remakes. They were more fun than Fire Red and Leaf Green. But I didn't beat either of them. I only even owned SoulSilver. As a matter of fact, yeah, I beat Diamond. So I beat Diamond all the way, including the post-game content. And that was like one of the last Pokemon games I beat all the way. I did not beat SoulSilver. I never owned HeartGold. Then more years pass and I lose my DS. I break it or whatever. And my computer's broken. So Black and White come out, and I don't get to get either of them because I didn't have a DS. And when I had seen the Pokemon list originally, I thought, boy, they look terrible. And I stayed thinking that for a long time, and I thought to myself, even if I had a DS, I wouldn't want these games. And a few more years later, and I had gotten used to the way the Pokemon looked. And I thought, it kind of sucked that I missed out on Black and White. But then I had heard just how much bullcrap it was. So, in order to transfer Pokemon from Fire Red, Leaf Green, Ruby, or Sapphire, or Emerald up to Diamond and Pearl, you had to put your cartridge in the bottom slot, your Gen 4 cart in the top slot. Then you go to this particular place in the game, you re-catch all of your Pokemon. You can only catch 6 a day. That's for I think 12 or for 24 hours. It was horrid. It was terrible. And you actually steal the Pokemon, which means your old cartridges would no longer have those Pokemon in them. And then I find out to get the Pokemon onto Black and White, you have to beat the whole game first, and then you have to transfer them in a kind of similar fashion. But you have to play this really dumb mini game. So, in order to get the Pokemon from Fire Red all the way up to Black and White, you would have to first transfer it to Diamond, Pearl, HeartGold, or SoulSilver, and then transfer it again to Black and White. And by this point, I was just like, this is really getting tiresome. And each time, your Pokemon are going to be they're going to be requiring breeding or move tutors anyways, because they're going to have outdated moves. So this was something that was really getting on my nerves. But, I mean, I was still kind of into the thing. I still had my Pokewalker that I had got with SoulSilver, which, by the way, I actually used. And then, to everyone's surprise, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 came out. And no one was expecting that. Everyone was expecting Pokemon Gray version, or a couple people expected maybe a rainbow version to go with Black and White. So that was really confusing. But when Black 2 and White 2 did come out, I still didn't have a DS, so I still didn't get them. And I've never owned them to this day. More years go by, and finally the DS is gone, and now there's the 3DS, and Pokemon X and Pokemon Y come out, and I didn't have the money to get a 3DS, and that was very expensive. I just didn't have a way to get it at the time, and so I didn't get to get X or Y. And I was disappointed in that, even though I had heard that there was no way to get your Pokemon from Gen 5 up to X and Y at the time. Of course, a few months, maybe a year later, something like that, they introduced Pokebank, and so you could finally transfer your Pokemon. If you were patient enough, you could have transferred them all the way from Ruby and Sapphire all the way up into X and Y. But it still kind of sucked at that point that there was no way to transfer from Gen 1 and Gen 2. Well, a few years passed by, and miraculously, I was able to get a 3DS. But I had heard that Pokemon X and Y kind of sucked. I had heard a lot of really great things about Black 2 and White 2, but I heard that X and Y sucked. And I heard that for the Pokebank, you lose all your held items. Well, when you transferred from Diamond to Black, you also lost all your items. Well, this is really starting to get dumb. Each time you turn around, you have to lose all your held items. I mean, these are things you collect throughout the entirety of the game. It's getting really old at this point. And, well, I bought Alpha Sapphire, but I did not buy Omega Ruby. Actually, my husband bought Omega Ruby, so we would trade and battle. And I had lost my Diamond version that was currently the one that had the most amount of Pokemon on it from the past. Well, I wouldn't have been able to transfer them up anyways without Black and White. But, so I just started all over on Alpha. All of my hundreds and hundreds of hours down the drain. I started all over on Alpha. I completed the entire Pokedex. I completed the Elite Four. I completed the post-game. And I had put 600 hours, or maybe more, into Alpha Sapphire. And then Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow all hit the eShop. And I was super happy about that. And I bought Blue from the eShop because it was nostalgic the most to me. And my husband bought Yellow because it was the most nostalgic to him. And we would trade and battle a little bit on there, but I was still mostly playing Alpha Sapphire. So, a few more years go by. Not that many years, actually, it seemed like. And Sun and Moon comes out. And they're like, Well, guess what? You're going to transfer all your Pokemon, and you're going to have to lose all the items again. And I was just done with it. I'm so tired of having to transfer all these Pokemon over, and each time I lose the held item. Each time there's going to be new move tutors, and I'm going to have to pick up the same items over and over and over again. And then they come up with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and honestly, I don't even like the Hawaii theme. I feel like they overdid it, and it was just obnoxious. So why I really quit was, the having to retransfer items every single time, having to rebreed Pokemon every single time was getting really old, and the fact that the games were basically the exact same thing over and over and over again, all of that sucked. But I'm also starting to dislike the way some of the Pokemon look. Each new game I have to get completely used to it, and then eventually I start liking them. It takes me a long time. But also, I don't really like the online battling at all. Every single person uses the same team when you're on just random or whatever it's called. I don't remember anymore. And yeah, I could avoid random. I could avoid online battle altogether, and I could just do the main story and forget about the breeding, forget about the transferring of items and all that stuff. But I used to like all of those things. I just feel that those things have been ruined now, and there's got to be a better way to do it. Well, that's my story. Keep watching my channel, and I'll upload more video game openings, more things I miss. Really, this whole video was just for me. And if you got any enjoyment out of it, well, that's pretty cool. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Till then.